G'day everyone, I'm Pat from Footy Collectibles. Hope you've been well. Let's get into today's video. And it is round 17 of the AFL 2025 season. And this is tips and rips for round 17. So let's get into the tips. And like always, how did everyone go last week? I think it was a pretty easy round. We ended up getting 7 from 7s. So we got all of them right. So must have been doing something good. So let's get into round 17 tips. Here we go. As you can see, nice 7s from 7. So the bye rounds are finally over. Thank God, we're back to 9 rounds per, 9 games per round. So let's begin on Thursday night. At Marvel, we have North Melbourne versus the Western Bulldogs. I think Bulldogs should win this one quite convincingly. They're going pretty well, and North are struggling like they always do. Are playing a little bit better, but yeah, not enough to beat the Bulldogs here. All right, let's move on to Friday night. Now we've got some weird double header feature on Friday night. So at the MCG, 6:50. This is my time. We have Carlton and Collingwood. So I've gone with the Pies here. Carlton they're shambles at the moment. They don't look like they want to play for Vossi at the moment, and yeah, I don't think they're going to beat the Collingwood Magpies at the MCG. And then at 7:50, an hour later, we have West Coast and GWS at Optus Stadium in Perth. So I'm not exactly sure what the AFL was thinking here. It's quite bizarre. Nonetheless, GWS should win this one. They're finding some form. As much as West Coast are playing better footy, I don't think they'll be able to beat the Giants. Stranger things have happened. I would love to see it, but I'm not getting my hopes up. All right, let's move into Saturday afternoon. We've got Marvel Stadium. We've got Essendon and Gold Coast. This one could go either way. Still don't have confidence in the Gold Coast. Essendon have had a break, so they might come back a little bit fresher, though they are injury ravaged. So I've gone Gold Coast. They need to win to keep in the top 8, and for that experience and a little bit of confidence as well. So I've gone with the Suns. All right, next in the afternoon, we've got Geelong versus Richmond at Geelong's home stadium. Geelong should win this one by quite a margin, I would assume. Next in the evening, we have Brisbane versus Port at the Gabba. Once again, this should be a fairly convincing win. Brisbane should win this fairly easily. Though you never know what Port you're going to get, but I think the Port you're going to get this week is going to be a bad Port. And then last on the Saturday night, we have St Kilda at Hawthorn at Marvel Stadium. I've gone Hawks here. Again, you never know what St Kilda you're going to get. They did almost snatch the win last week against Freo, but usually they follow up a decent performance with a shocking one. So I'm going to go Hawks here, and obviously Hawks on the back of almost a 100-point win last week. All right, last but not least, on Sunday, we have Sydney versus Fremantle at the SCG. Will it be at the SCG? If you saw last week's game, it was horrible for the players trying to get their feet. So I've gone Freo here, but I still don't have confidence in Freo. It's one of those games where I think this could go either way. Sydney get on a roll early, they could steamroll Freo. So at the moment, I'm going to go Freo. And then lastly, we have Adelaide versus Melbourne at Adelaide Oval in the late afternoon game on Sunday. Crows should win this one again. A lot of these games are not really good games. There are a lot of there's wide margins between each of the teams. What is the closest game? I think the closest one probably is the Brisbane Port, 2nd versus 10th. So there is quite some margin. So might be able to get a high amount of tips this week again. So all right, there we go. That's my tips for round 17. Let's see if they're as good as round 16. I would love to see a follow-up of 7 to 9v9. All right, that was the tips. Let's get into some footy pack rips. I've got myself 5 packs of Team Coach. So let's open those. All right, you might have heard my voice a little bit scratchy. I'm getting over a cold. I lost my voice at one stage last week. As you might have seen, the video was a little bit different this time last week. As we pull a Max Gawn, that's a generational legend card. I like those cards. They look really good. And then we have a Melbourne underneath that one in the die cut. Is there a code on that one? There is a code, so I'll just cover that and show you the back. But it is a very nice card. I believe it's like 1 per box. So we've hit a pretty decent hit there. That's a nice change because don't usually get all that lucky. Not this year anyway. All right, let's move on to a second pack. Take that. All right, Kyle Langford and Patrick Dangerfield. We've got Star Powers, Andrew Brayshaw. Under that, just a Will Ashcroft. Very nice Star Powers. Not as good as last year's. In my opinion, I like last year's ones a little bit better than this year's. But you can't have them bangers every single year. You've got to drop it down and then come back hard the next year. As we get Tom Green in the Star Powers. Not bad. Double Star Power hits. And then a St Kilda die cut. 2 more packs. Let's see what we can finish on. It's been a decent opening so far, I've got to say. I've had some real shockers lately. We've got a Noah Bolter in the card craft. And a Max Holmes. And that one is number 2. Is that that's the cheering. There you go. All right, last pack. Can we finish with a little bit more magic than we did? We started with a pretty decent one. Can we finish with a decent one? Sam Collins. We finished the best and fairest for St Kilda. Sam Wilkie and then a Harry Sheasel. So, unfortunately, no Scanlon's retro this week. The hunt continues for a Scanlon's retro. So there we go. 5 packs. Pretty decent array of cards this week. Definitely had worse in the past. So there we go. That was tips and rips for round 17. Let me know how you got last week. Did you get 7 out of 7 as well? And let me know how your tips are going this week, if you agree with me or not. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Enjoy this week's, finally back to 9 out of 9 games per round. So yeah, enjoy the footy this week, and I will see you next week. Cheers.